Join us on the Superior Overland Tour, our version of the Lake Superior Circle Tour, where we camp off-grid besides one exception. This is a 1,300-mile route going through Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and going into Ontario's Superior Country and Algoma Country. Joining us at the beginning of our trip is our friend Phil from Old Man Old Truck. This guy's a legend with his 300,000-mile one-owner Tacoma. Also joining is my wife Renee and our two travel pups, Eleanor and Bivy. These dogs have seen more of the country than most humans will. Our journey begins at the Mackinaw Bridge, which joins the Lower Peninsula with the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. The Mackinaw Bridge is currently the 7th longest suspension bridge in the world by total suspended length, and it's the longest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere. Mackinaw City is full of history. It has this fort, which I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name of, and a beautiful lighthouse aptly named the Old Macanac Point Lighthouse. We've parked at the lighthouse after a lovely 10-hour drive to get to this point from Kentucky to stretch our legs and check out the area. This bridge is 26,372 feet long. It always surprises me to see large barges on these lakes. Welcome to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. You're greeted on the north side of the bridge with a toll. We've officially started our route. Our first stop, the Tahquamenon Falls State Park. And with permission from a park ranger, we are able to get up the drone and show you these beautiful waterfalls. This section are the lower falls. On this lower waterfall section, there are 5 waterfalls on either side of an island that can be accessed via boat or a new bridge. From here, we drive just a little bit upstream to the Upper Falls. A short hike later, and with more permission, we present to you the Tahquamenon Upper Falls. One of the largest waterfalls east of the Mississippi River, has nearly a 50-foot drop, 200 foot across, and water flow more than 50,000 gallons per second. One of our favorite parts about this park is that in the parking lot, there's a brewery/restaurant. We highly recommend the Blueberry Ale. If there's pasta on the menu, Renee typically gets it. I got the whitefish, and of course, Phil had to try a pasty. If you don't know what it is, definitely Google her. The final stop before camp tonight is Whitefish Point. And at this point is the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum. And since we arrived so late in the evening, we had this place pretty much all to ourselves. Whitefish Point Light Tower has been in continuous operation since 1861, making it the oldest operating lighthouse on Lake Superior. This place is definitely worth a stop. A short 20-minute drive down the coast, we find ourselves at our first camp spot on the tour. And after a long day of driving, we kind of land hard, so we don't set up camp except for the tent. We took some time looking for Upper Stone, a rock that glows under black lights, and just enjoying the calm, lapping water. Day 2 of our tour starts with a very early start. Before we can really hit the road, we stop in Paradise to top off our gas tanks, get a quick breakfast, and get on our way. Highly recommend this gas station. The Paradise Recreational Sports Convenience Store. This place has everything. Our first destination for today is the town of Munising. Now let me preface this. We've spent a lot of time in the UP, and yes, we're skipping some areas that typically people would go to, like Pictured Rocks. We highly recommend those areas, but we're trying to get pretty far across the UP today. We've made it to Munising. This place is a mecca for water sports, tourism, biking, kayaking. This little town has it all. We spent about an hour hanging along this waterfront because we're waiting on some good friends of ours to join our convoy, Jordan, Cait, and their little girl Eden of Midwest Fun Runner. These guys are pulling my old X-Venture trailer, pretty much the exact same setup that I have. Our lunch spot is a pretty famous little burger joint called A Burger, and if we're in this area, we typically stop. It's a burger with bacon and poutine with cheese curds for me. After a 40-mile drive, our next destination of Marquette, another beautiful waterside town, has some pretty amazing features just sitting out in their little bay. These are the Marquette Ore Docks. The lower Ore Docks is one of Marquette's most iconic landmarks. These mammoth concrete and steel structures that sit in Lake Superior represent the city's maritime and mining past. They were constructed in the late 19th century. Here are some stats for you. This steel frame dock is 1,250 feet long, 60 feet wide, it sits 75 feet above the water, contains 200 pockets, which are a capacity of 250 tons of ore, and it's all held up by 10,000 wood pylons. There used to be a big old trestleway over that trains would drive on top of this thing and dump the ore. You can also see the Marquette Harbor Lighthouse from here. Our last stop of the day is our camp spot, which we've always gone all the way around to get to. This time, we're going to try to find a cut through some backcountry trails. And to our surprise, after leaving Big Bay, we found perfectly manicured trails for the first 15 to 20 miles of it. This section of the trail got pretty rough. And when I say rough, Phil's license plate rattled off the screws. Luckily, Jordan saw a license plate on the road from, I don't know, the same state that Phil was from. After about an hour and a half of trail riding, we pop out the other side to Big Eric Falls. A short distance from the falls is one of our favorite spots on Lake Superior, mouth of the Huron. It's also a nice surprise to get some local beer, one of our favorites, upon arriving at camp, the Keweenaw Brewing Company. Like I said earlier, these guys bought my old tent and trailer setup. I have the exact same setup as before, just on a newer trailer. Included in that is one of our favorite pieces of gear, the ostrich wing awning from Rugged Bound Supply Company. The original freestanding 270 awning. This thing is a beast. Like I said, I had it on my old trailer, I have it on my new trailer, and this winter we're getting a new camper, which I'm going to put one on there too. Camp goes up relatively quick, which is nice because we can spend more time just hanging out and relaxing. We go by the rule, buy once, cry once. A good set of chairs, a good way to sleep, a good way to heat yourself. All these things go a long way to make camping a lot more enjoyable. For tonight's dinner, it's just a quick meal of hot dogs. I think Eden is enjoying her time. This is probably the 10th time that I've camped here. This place is something special to me. It's always been relaxing. We've always had fun here. And this is what I would say a quintessential lakeside camp spot looks like on Lake Superior. Never underestimate what I bet you won't after a few beers will get you. Yeah, that's a hard pass for me on this little dip. What's the temperature on that thing?
I never moved off 60 degrees.
Somehow I don't believe that, but it looks a lot colder. Day 3 started just as early as the last one. Our first destination of the day was a fog-covered Silver River Falls. A quick drive through Lance, we're on our way to Houghton, and you have to say it like that. Even driving into Houghton, the place was covered in fog. I get pretty nervous about fog up here because it can last for days. Our breakfast spot choice today, Sumi's. You're going to hear me say this a few times. We love classic diners. They have great prices and the food's amazing. So amazing, I forgot to film the meal before eating it. It's time to head up into the Keweenaw Peninsula. To do so, you have to cross the Portage Canal Lift Bridge. Previously, when this was lowered, the lower section was used by trains. Now, in the winter, it's used by snowmobiles. Once over the bridge, you're in the city of Hancock, which quickly goes uphill on the peninsula, and to our surprise, as soon as we come out of the town, the fog clears. Our first stop on our whirlwind tour of the Keweenaw Peninsula is Eagle River Falls and Dam, which really isn't that big of a dam. Another cool sight is the Eagle River Arch Timber Bridge. Now, this next destination is a must-stop. We know we do every time we're in the area. A little place called the Jampot. Also the location of the Porridge Abbey. These jams and delicious bakery items are made by monks. They have the traditional jams and then jams made from local berries and other varietals. The Abbey itself, about 100 yards away, is beautiful. This time was getting the roof work done. Next stop, Eagle Harbor. Besides its perfect little lighthouse and beautiful homes right on the water, this little town has its very own beach and the Eagle Harbor Life-Saving Station and Museum just across the way. Heading ever further into the Keweenaw Peninsula, our next stop is Brockaway Mountain. This mountain, only sitting 735 feet above the lake, allows you to see the Isle Royale 50 miles away into the center of Lake Superior. From here, we split up from the rest of the group and set up camp on our buddy Jim's property. He purchased a perfect little sliver of land right on the water. And out amongst the rocks, right offshore, you can see some kayakers enjoying the clear water and looking at some shipwrecks below. Having been on the road for 4 days, we were starting to stink a little. We like to have showers every 2-3 days, and there's no better showers than state park showers. They usually cost between $5 and $10, and it also allows us to clean the truck out and do some reorganizing. We're heading downtown into Copper Harbor to one of our favorite spots, Brickside Brewery. This is the definition of locally owned, hole-in-the-wall brewery, and we could not love it more. These beers are pretty good. You chew on them, but they're good. The old man even added a sticker to the ceiling. It's a sheltered little bay town with lots of character, lots of diners, and no matter where you look, you've got a beautiful view. Before heading to our last destination of the evening, we stopped to have some sandwiches waterside. The reason we've spent so much time up here in the Keweenaw Peninsula is because of a little event called the Keweenaw Overland Adventure Retreat, held just outside of Copper Harbor. It's a base camp style overland event with vendors, trail rides, classes, and a pretty dang good community of people who just want to get out and camp. We got to see some familiar faces and relax with some friends. We hung out for some announcements and some music before heading back to camp to go to bed. Day 4, the group meets up at KOAR, and we headed down back to the docks to get a quick breakfast. These are the docks where the boat, the Isle Royale Queen, goes out and delivers people to the island. Our first destination is as far east as you can go on the Keweenaw Peninsula. Today, we're also being joined by Mike Powers, driving a beautiful Ford Raptor, and we're heading out on one of my favorite trails in the area. Every year is different up here for the color change for fall. This year, we're a little bit early. But no matter what, the big puddles in this area never disappoint. We've made it out to High Rock Bay. Over the years, it's gotten a little too popular, but it's worth the drive out. Our way back to town saw Nora play one of her favorite games, Kill the Leaves. After some backtracking, we headed to Brewery to check out the Mendota Lighthouse. This restored lighthouse was built in 1895. It sits at the opening of the Mendota Canal. heading south to the town of Gay. First stop in Gay is the Gay Beach, which is not actually a beach. It is stamp sand, which is toxic and full of arsenic. The government is actually getting rid of this beach. I say this to head off all the Karens who are about to get mad when our friend in our Raptor wants to do a little shredding. The government here has made a pretty good dent in cleaning this area. It involves dredging, dumping the sands back into the old mine shafts, building new reefs for all the fish that spawn here. The next spot used to be one of our favorite spots to go into, the Gay Bar. Unfortunately, they always seem understaffed and angry that you're there. If I were you, I'd still go in, grab a hot dog, grab a funny shirt, a rainbow jello shot, and head on your way. We didn't eat at the Gay Bar because we know we'd be heading into Calumet. This quaint little town used to be the center of all mining for the area. We come here for the Michigan House Cafe and Red Jacket Brewing Co. This place has pizzazz. Great menu, great beers, good burgers and salads. A short drive back north on the Keweenaw is a little hole in the wall we like called the Wooden Spoon, full of knickknacks, copper things, actual wooden spoons, and baked goods. With most of the day gone, we went back to camp just to relax for a little bit before heading back to KOAR. Our friend Jim and his wife are some of the most generous people we've met, allowing us to camp on their land, mooch off their free brisket, trade some beers, and some good conversation. As evening approached, it was time to head back in for the last night of KOAR. Everybody seemed happy. Lots of trail riding, and now raffles and bonfires. It was great to see all of you. Passing the Quincy Mine usually signals the last little section before the bridge heading off the Keweenaw Peninsula. Which means breakfast for us is right underneath the bridge at the Copper Range Depot. After scarfing down a hefty breakfast, we are on our way. Just outside of Houghton is the Red Ridge Steel Dam. Constructed in 1901, it is a flat slab buttress dam constructed of steel, a relatively rare material for construction of dams. And it seems some hooligans and spray paint cans have found their way here. Not 2 minutes away is Covered Drive, one of the most beautiful scenic drives in the area. Time to get some highway miles in. 75 miles to our next destination. Next stop, Porcupine Mountains and Lake of the Clouds. These little things really do give it their all. The Overlook is a must-stop. It is only a short hike consisting of some rock crawling, but mostly wooden boardwalks. A short drive out of the park puts us on Big Iron River, a beautiful river with some pretty unique features. Another 60 miles puts us into Ironwood, home of the stormy Groomer Hat. It was Sunday, and we were all pretty disappointed this place was closed. We would have each picked one up. It's time to go into a different state. Welcome to Wisconsin. Our camp spot is a non-traditional spot. It's called boondocking. Pretty much camp where you can. We'll show you where we're at after a quick dinner. This X-Venture trailer comes with a pull-out galley kitchen. Tonight is grilled cheese and turkey sandwiches. Most of the time when at camp, we use the roll KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Make cheap, easy meals at camp so you can spend a little bit more dough on the good meals along the way at diners. So back to where we're camping. We are camping at the base of Saxon Falls. This river also happens to be the border between Wisconsin and Michigan. Listening to these falls all night long is going to make us sleep like babies. Just know this is also the site of a hydroelectric plant. Some more libations and laughs puts us to bed pretty early. We are on our way. First stop, Ashland, Wisconsin. This little bay surprised us with the Ashland Breakwater Lighthouse. It's located at the end of a long and detached breakwater which creates an artificial harbor. It's time for another beefy breakfast at the Breakwater Restaurant. I'm not gonna lie, this was one hefty breakfast. After passing through the town of Superior, we're heading over the bridge into Minnesota and downtown Duluth. Our first stop is into Fitker's, half an old hotel and half an old marketplace. We love checking out local outfitters. Duluth is a port town as well. Iron ore, coal, limestone, and grain are shipped out of here. More than 1 million tons of grain gets moved through the port each season, making it the #1 export. Just north of Duluth, we find ourselves at Tom's Logging Camp. This is a restored logging camp that you can take a tour through to see how they used to do it when all you had were axe and saws. Oh, and the taxidermy and the little gift shop aren't bad either. These are the shops that we love to find. We're officially heading northeast. Next stop of the tour is Two Harbors. Two Harbors has 3 ore docks, 2 of which are still active. Look at the size of that barge. They even have a little museum tug named the Edna G. There's also a railroad museum. And just off the harbor is our destination, Castle Danger Brewing. Look at this place. The beer selection was vast, the staff were awesome, and, the beers were good too. We're on our way to Gooseberry Falls State Park. On your way there, you cross through a few tunnels right along the waterside. There's a few sets of stairs to get down to the falls, but nothing difficult. Go down and check them out. Our next stop is something that I've been looking forward to for a while. Split Rock Lighthouse. We launched the drone from a roadside pull-off outside the park, staying over the water to get a good view of the lighthouse. Nearly 30 ships wrecked before this place was built. It's one of Minnesota's most iconic locations to stop, and it's one of the most photographed areas as well. We've got to keep trucking north. Next stop, Beaver Bay. We landed at Cove Point Crossings Grill. It was time for a big old hefty salad for this guy. And just in town is the Beaver Falls. These falls are just roadside and cut through town. A few miles north of town, we parked in a church parking lot, launched our drone to see Palisade Head. And to be honest, I think we get a better view from the water than most people get from the land. Little marriage tip: put your wife on the passenger side and do this route going clockwise, giving them the best views of the water. Our next destination really surprised me. The town of Grand Marais. This town has a beautifully sheltered bay with another lighthouse on the breakwater, and it seemed like everybody was out enjoying the water and the views. So take a minute and relax and enjoy what we got to see during this beautiful sunset on the bay. While all of this was going on out in the bay, we got to enjoy it from the rooftop of the Voyageur Brewing Company. We could have stayed there the rest of the evening, but it was time to get to camp and see if this spot was going to work out. We sent Old Man Old Truck ahead down this short path to see if it was going to work out for us to go down there as well. And it did. 100 yards off the road, we found another jackpot spot. It really does pay to use Google satellite images to find these little hole-in-the-wall spots that typically aren't marked on maps, but you can see them from the satellite image. With a full moon and light waves, we had a good time relaxing. I can't tell you how awesome it is to find chill people to camp with, even if they're a goofball most of the time. Today was the day we're heading into Canada. We only had a few destinations to hit, but this one was in the Lake Superior Circle Tour guide as a must-see. Let's check out Hollow Rock. One more stop before the border, the Susie Islands Overlook.
Old man in his natural habitat.
Just ahead, the border crossing into Canada. We had the GoPro set up on the hood to record our experience, but it froze up within 2 minutes of driving. It never fails how polite the Canadian border guys are. We've always had a great experience when crossing over into Canada. We are officially in Ontario. We changed our speedometer from miles per hour to kilometers and headed inland. For 40 miles, the road turns away from the lake and goes inland up to Thunder Bay. The landscape changes pretty quickly as soon as you hit Superior Country. Phil was on a hunt for a new hat, so he stopped in Thunder Bay at the Wilderness Supply Company. If you're doing outdoor sports in the area, this is your place. Being called a beefcake a time or two in my day, we had to stop at the Beefcake's Burger Factory. The burger was great, but whatever you do, order the small fry, because they're going to give you a bucket of them. Thunder Bay was a beautiful town, and something I'd never seen before, out in the bay, a bunch of parked barges. Quick note, the roads from Duluth up to this point have been wonderful. Our next stop is into the Sleeping Giant Provincial Park. Before going into the park, we stopped at an amethyst store to get some trinkets. Once we picked up our Canadian park passes, we headed up to the Thunder Bay Lookout. The last few hundred yards of this trail to the top are across flat rocks that are pretty fun to drive across. If you've got vertigo, I wouldn't check this overlook out. This cantilevered platform goes a decent way over the cliffside. Our next stop takes us out of the park to a town that's completely surrounded by the park, to a place called Silver Islet. I wish every small town that we came across had a general store that was as beautiful as this one. It had your general shopping trinkets, some food, and it even had a little tea room in the back. Behind the store was a Clearwater harbor that I could have honestly stayed at for days. And just up the coast of this little town is the Sea Lion Rock Formation. Remember the remote camping exception we talked about? Well, this is it. We're camping at the Marie Lewis campground inside of the park. Another chance for some showers and vehicle resets. We got here decently early in the day, so we can just hang out and chat. Made everyone dinner for some leftover fries and some more hot dogs. Being from Kentucky, we love our bourbon, so now it's time to tick off some bourbon drinkers with the way I make my Kentucky Mule. First off is some Sazerac rye, and then some traditional lime juice. You'll also need a measuring tool, a cup of ice. Make sure you perfectly measure out 2 ounces of bourbon. Get every drop of it inside of the glass. A half ounce of freshly squeezed lime juice. And top off with premium ginger beer. Mix appropriately. And serve it with a smile. Don't forget the rest of your friends. And don't forget yourself. The following morning, our friends made us some breakfast burritos before we hit the road. Our travel buddy Phil has informed us that there's something not on our maps. Canada's longest suspension footbridge. Well, there's 2 of them. One is 300 feet long, the other is 600. Welcome to Eagle Canyon Adventures. Nora and Bivy were having a little bit of a panic attack. If you're afraid of heights, this is not for you. We head up to the most northerly town on our tour, Nipigon. Our stop in this town is a unique little structure called the Nipigon Lookout. The 65 steps take you up to a 360-degree view of Lake Helen and the Nipigon Bridge. Once you cross the Nipigon River Bridge, you start heading southeast around the lake. This is where the tour really starts showing how beautiful Canada is. A lot of the rest of this drive has cliffs much like the Kama Cliffs. This is also the area where most of the towns start to really space out. Our next stop, a little town of Rossport in the island of Nickel. And what's on this little island? A pretty well-known potter by the name of Tim Alexander. Tim and his wife run this out of their home. Behind their house is an outdoor showroom and the kilns that they have made to make their pottery. This is the perfect setting for artists like these. Next stop, Rainbow Falls Park. Just know if you're going here, the boardwalk has about 1 million stairs going down to the base of the falls. Was it worth all the stairs? Absolutely. Up next on the list, the town of Schreiber. Now that we're into the evening, we're stopping for dinner at Rosie's and Josie's. This place had an expansive menu. Along with some quality Canadian beer, I think this is one of the best Reubens I've ever had. Our campsite for the night is one that I have been looking forward to this whole trip. We're heading down to Worthington Bay. This trail starts off nice with gravel, which quickly turns to packed dirt, then abruptly into actual trail. So just know, if you pull a full-size RV, you're not getting down here. After about 30 minutes of trail riding, from the drone, I can see this is going to be something special. I have driven on countless beaches all across the country, and this was the point that I made a rookie mistake. I didn't test it out before driving on it. This was not sand. This was tiny, polished stone. Even after airing down the tires, movement off this beach was going to be slow. Being one of the lighter vehicles with the most traction, I was able to get off the beach, drop my trailer, and winch the rest of the guys off. To be honest, this was a fun experience. Now that the 2 hours of drama was over, we were able to set up camp in a little clearing just off the beach. And for the first time, take the time to actually look around and check out this beautifully sheltered cove. These are the bucket list camp spots that I look for. So far this trip has been perfect weather. Today, the combination of hard work, perfect camp spot, good company is making this one of the best spots of the trip so far. We spent the evening around our lava box, which is a propane fire pit, pretty handy, talking about my massive screw up and just how much fun it actually was. Before bed, and with a full moon, we decided to explore the beach one more time. Hesitant to leave this beautiful place, we slowly pack up and get back on the trail.
Oh, she got it.
Once back onto gravel, we aired back up. Only 7.4 kilometers, whatever those are. Just kidding. We come to the Aguazabon River Falls. Falls are right next to downtown, so we stopped at Drifters and Terrace Bay. It's not a huge menu, but it's a good one. This is an area where there's also not a lot of stops, but the views are hard to beat. After all of that winching and traction boarding out of the sand, we needed another shower, so we are on our way to White Lake Provincial Park. This area also turns away from the lake for quite a few miles. In all seriousness, these were the nicest showers in any park we have ever been to. Next stop was another one that Phil added to our list, but first we had to cross over into Canada's Algoma country. Our first stop in this area is White River. What's here, you ask? Well, it's the beginning of Winnie the Pooh. The real Winnie the Pooh was originally a black bear from the northern town of White River, Ontario. So we stopped to give this childhood legend its due respect. Next on our whirlwind tour is the town of Wawa. But first, roll that beautiful bean footage. More lakes, rivers, and just all around more beautiful Canada. Our stop in Wawa, Young's General Store. A store of general knickknacks, fishing supplies, meats, candies, ice creams, barrels of pickles, and last but not least, weird taxidermy. And on the outskirts of town, a big dang goose. After Wawa, the road officially turns directly south, heading back towards the States. One last stop before we head to our camp spot to Old Woman Bay, which is located in Lake Superior Provincial Park. Our last camp spot in Canada, we were able to find using Google Maps on satellite image. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is, but if you zoom in right south of Lake Superior Provincial Park, you'll see a little road that's not a marked road on the side of the water. And I don't think many people are coming down here. Remember when I told you our last camp spot was the best one of the trip? Well, this one just topped it. Most people see Lake Superior around big cities, and that's traditionally where rivers come out. It's not clear water there. This was crystal clear. There were only 2 spots in this little area to set up camp, and this one was the perfect size for 2 trucks, 2 trailers, and a small Toyota. Let me walk you around camp. Not knowing if this spot would work out, and not really having a backup spot, this place was a huge sigh of relief. We can't leave Canada without trying another one of their local delicacies.
Tastes like Canada.
It's turkey sandwiches for dinner, nicely paired with a very weird beer. This spot is the perfect last night spot for a perfect trip. It doesn't hurt to travel with people who are no drama and just go with the flow. Every time we travel with these guys, it just seems to get better. It doesn't hurt just to have a dang good sense of humor.
Hey Jeremiah, it's cold. Can you turn it up?
The perfect night was rudely interrupted by me with an early morning departure. It's our last day in Canada, and we had some miles to make. First stop, breakfast. Our chosen spot, the Chippewa River Restaurant. This family affair saw a mom in the kitchen, a son serving, and some of the best hospitality we've seen on the trip. And I can say without a doubt, one of the best cooked breakfasts on the trip. I believe Edie agrees. And wouldn't you know it, there's a waterfall right next to the restaurant. I think the Chippewa Falls were named after the restaurant. Not sure who was there first, but these are an easy, off the side of the road scene. Not 8.9 kilometers down the road, you see the last vision of Lake Superior before the road turns inland. It's time to cross back into the States via Sault Ste. Marie. Just know the signs can be a little confusing on which way to go to get into the border area. This is a pretty cool border crossing. Going over these bridges, you get to see all of the locks and all of the different water channels that these huge cargo ships go through. And at this border crossing, we came across our first nice U.S. border agent. Once into Michigan, we had an hour drive to our little turnoff where we said goodbye to our good friends Cait and Jordan. And of course, we finished the trip with a bunch of rain. Phil, being from South Carolina, is going to follow us for the majority of our way home. Just a little bit further down the road, and we're going to round out our trip back on the Mackinaw Bridge. After one last toll, we crossed the bridge and over the finish line. Close to 1,450 miles later, we're back where we started. The perfect trip does exist. Highly recommend the Lake Superior Circle Tour, whether you camp or go the traditional route in an RV or in hotels.